In this video today, I'm going to be talking a bit about predeterminism and free will and how both of those intermingle. I'm doing this live stream just to kind of light a bit of a fire underneath me because I haven't done a live for a long time and I feel it was a bit overdue. And this particular topic is one that I personally have had a lot of mental conflict around over the past 3 years specifically. And I've recently come to a state of resolution within myself around it. And it's brought me a lot of peace. It's allowed me to take a lot of weight off my shoulders. So let me first start by explaining a bit of backstory, give a bit of context as to why I'm making this video now. So perhaps in the really peak of my first kind of major spiritual awakening that happened in 2014, of course, that time I read a couple of books. One of them was The Free Waves of Volunteers by Dolores Cannon. The other one was by Barbara Hanklau, which was A Pleiadian Agenda, a new cosmology for the age of light. And both of these books certainly popped a lid on my head, allowed me to expand my mind a bit, gave me some new perspectives, which was really great. And around that time, I got to this state of being where I was like feeling like everything is predetermined. Everything happens for a reason. And every action I take is an action that I'm meant to take. I then came around to around about 2018, the beginning of 2018, and I was looking more into more spiritual studies, as many of us do, of course, over our time. And these studies led me to kind of get more into this idea of like free will and that we create our reality in every given moment. Now, I'm not saying that we don't create our reality in every given moment, because I do believe that we absolutely do. But there is an aspect to all of that that encompasses it, where I now believe that pretty much everything is predetermined. Pretty much everything. And then I really took that on board, and I went through this period from like 2018 up until very recently, just a couple of months ago, where I was going through some struggles in personal relationships, and it really got me. And I had a lot of mental conflict. I was like, God, these words that I've said or these actions that I've taken that have created this outcome. It's like that was a byproduct of my own free will. And I really beat myself up about it. It was like an extra part. It was like an extra layer of like, why have I done this? Why have I been like this way? Why have I acted out like this? Not in a way of bypassing now. Like, I don't mean to be like, yeah, I went through that and now I can come out the other side and be like, oh, it's all predetermined anyway, so it doesn't matter what actions I took. No. Because I do take full responsibility for my actions, absolutely. But so much of this conflict of like, what was predetermined in those situations? What was my own free will actions? That led to a lot of mental chatter. And then recently I came to this understanding of how predeterminism and free will really work together. So just to give kind of more of an illustration, So let's say, for example, now this of course is just my perspective. So let's take me, and this will be me. I'm the example. And we come to a fork in the road. Yeah, the ocean cleanse work. Good. Thank you, Crystal. This means the chat is working. Anyone who's on right now or anyone watching this, just know that feel free to leave some comments. And at the end, we can talk about it, or at least I'll talk about it, and we can have a back and forth. And yeah, so feel free in the comments to share your perspectives on this topic in particular. So we come to this fork in the road, right? And we've got different options, let's say, or different apparent choices that we can make. Let's say that I wake up in the morning, right? And I've got 4 different things that I feel that I could go and do. Okay. One of them is going and doing yoga. First thing. The other one could be meditating. The other thing could be getting a juice straight away. Another thing could be going for a walk. Okay. Now, what I've come to understand recently that's given me so much, it's allowed me to release so much of this mental pressure of like, what was free will? What was divinely timed? You saw the sun. Awesome. Good. And so there is this understanding, and I've fully embodied it now because it just makes so much sense to me, right? Because both free will and predetermined exist in so many ways. I'm just going to move this down a second. Right? Now, from my perspective, all we have to do is just make a decision, okay? When we have this appearance of choices before us, all we actually have to do is make a decision. Because with predeterminism, as I understand it, we would have made that choice anyway. So I'm going to choose meditation to be my first thing to do in the morning. Oh, the mini sun. Yeah, that's the LED up above. Yeah, so that is a cool sun. Just draw around the sun. Awesome. Yeah, let's have fun here because like I think this is so good that we're able to do this and have lives like this and just have some fun. Cool. Okay. And so I decided to do meditation. Now I could have had this massive like egoic conflict about, oh, I should go for the walk first, or I should go and have the juice first. I could go and have the yoga first, or I could meditate first, but it's just pick one. Choose. Make your decision and go for it because you would have made that decision anyway. Now, where does free will actually come into this? From my perspective, free will is simply an illusion. It's an illusion that when we get so aligned with our heart and we really step into our heart and then we have that real awesome heart and mind coherence, that then it's so much easier for us to just make that decision because our heart and its subtle messaging that it gives us will be much clearer to us when we have that coherence, when we're really coming from our heart. And this has just been such a relief for me personally to be able to step into this new version of myself in that way where I'm no longer battling with myself about, oh, I wish I made that other choice. I wish I made that other decision. Oh, why did I do that? No more. I don't need to have all that aggravation and that self-inflicted confusion, because every action that I take, I know that it's for my highest good. I know that it's exactly what Spirit wants for me. It's what God, creation itself, a higher power, if it's really a higher power, wants for me. So, yeah, just choose. Absolutely, Crystal. You've absolutely got it. So, I kind of wrapped it up there. I'm trying to think, is there anything else I need to add to this? Well, there's so much to the idea of free will and predeterminism, but really, do we have to overcomplicate it? I certainly am not going to overcomplicate it. And you're absolutely right, Crystal. Stop beating yourself up. Yeah, absolutely. Free will to choose the journey. Definitely. It's like you were saying earlier on about perfectionism, right? And I personally as well, it's like this kind of showing up today here on this live. It's like quite a big deal. It's like, it's like I actually took the time to set all of this up and to share more. And yeah, that perfectionism, I had to make sure that everything was right. I had to make sure that this tripod was right and this tablet setup was all good, and that I'm here and I'm wearing appropriate clothing, and the technology is all turned on, and the batteries are all charged up, and the tablet's charged, and the restream works. And so that there's so much that goes into it, because I know for myself, we can look deeper into this kind of idea of perfectionism. And I know in my own case, it's like I've had, for example, graphic design work in the past, and I'll do it, and it's like, okay, it's done to an acceptable standard, but then I'll keep going and I'll keep adding to it unnecessarily, spending unnecessary time improving it to make it better, because every artist is their own worst critic, right? And it was just like you were saying, Crystal, as well, about doing a live in this way and then questioning ourselves, like, oh, I wish I did that, I wish I said this instead, all of that. And it's when we can really surrender into our hearts and get that mind to heart coherence going and just flow and surrender into it, which is what I'm really feel I'm doing right now. I'm fully embodying that. It takes the pressure off, and we can just have fun and play, like that little version of ourselves, that young version of ourselves that is just so ready and eager. Like I just went down to the beach earlier on. Absolutely, perfectionism can hold us back. It can cripple creativity. Definitely. That's the thing, right? It happens to me so often. It's like I'll be writing out a post on Facebook or something, and I'm like, is this really the kind of thing that I want to put out? Is this really the kind of standard that I want to hold myself to? And of course, everyone's going to be different. Everyone's having a different experience. Let's do a little dance. Yeah, we can do a little dance. Let's keep it fun, keep it fluid. And of course, I know as well, there's so much of that idea of perfection that comes into rejection. I know it certainly has for me. But also having Capricorn North Node, I know for me, perhaps that's part of my soul's expression, and not just me coming from an ego level saying, oh, I must show up like this in this way. Perhaps it is coming from my soul saying, maybe. So, free will and determinism. We can have this idea of ourselves. See, he's doing a dance. Our path may look like it's going in all kinds of crazy angles until it finally comes out at the end. But really, in a sense, from my perspective, there's only really just one line. It's just we make it so complicated with our minds in telling ourselves that it's just complicated and that we get tugged in certain directions in our lives. And really, from one perspective, it's all perfect. So thank you for sharing this moment of perfection with me as I wrap up this concept that I am deciding to keep simple at this time. So thank you. And I wish you so much love to all of you. Crystal, Gail, hi Gail. I hope you're all well today. So my heart goes to you all at this timing. Thank you so much for participating and being here and learning perhaps a perspective that you hadn't considered before. Have a great day. Much love to you all. Bye bye.